Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have another great guest on, Joy Abdullah. And the reason why I think, this guest is great. One is he came from a referral from, another great guest, Fahim, that I had on. And, it's always great when you can just see, your network grow with great people as you just start meeting people and you start engaging. But I really like what his business is about with coaching. I mean, and in the area of as a marketing specialist, I mean, because that is a very important part about, business that we need to learn a lot more about. So welcome to the show, Joy.
Thank you so much, Terrell. It's a pleasure, and I love the episodes that you do on your show. The one, as I was just mentioning before we started recording, last night, what you posted on business or hobby, that, my man, I'm going to share out because a lot of people, a lot of startup owners need to know that. And Fahim's spoken very highly of you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Well, before we jump into talking more about your business, tell us a little bit about, your background before you started the current business that you're leading.
Well, I was in the rat race for 32 years, nearly going on to 33 years. So I come from a business planning and strategic marketing background. I've spent half my career, a little over half my career, about 18, 19 years in strategic planning and advertising agencies, working with the J. Walter Thompsons, the Leo Burnett's of the world, across quite a few places, India, Malaysia, Singapore, primarily Asia focused. And then the second half of my career has been purely in corporate and business planning, as well as in strategic marketing. I'm a self-taught digital marketeer. I do not have, the Harvard digital certification or an INSEAD certification. I am a B school MBA done 33 years ago. Everything they taught at that point in time, no longer valid. So I've spent 33 years in corporate. I've worked across about 8 industry verticals. I'm just trying to recall. Sometimes the memory fails. So I come purely looking at having done that 32 years of corporate. Where I arrived at was when I finished my gig in 2018, I had the choice of looking for a job. And I did go down to look for a new job. It's a separate story. And then I had this thing to say, hey, look, I want to do something where business, the way it's been done for the last 70, 80 years in our lifetime, doesn't sort of seem right. I came out, I was a head of marketing, a chief marketing officer level. I walked out of a contract and I said, now what? What impact have I created? And I guess that's the little bit of a bug that bites somebody who wants to create an impact. And it was by default that I went into, I'll use the word business. I still consider myself a startup. I have a strategic startup with a partner who's based in Singapore. I have my strategic marketing advisory with a partner who's based in Sydney. And, the advantage of a digital world is you don't have to be where you are, or you don't have to be where I am physically. You can partner, you work around the time zones. So 3 years back, I started these 2 ventures. I've had huge amount of pains in doing it, but I have to tell you something. I've enjoyed every single moment, and the fun that I've had in these 3 years through those pains is way, way, way ahead of anything I've enjoyed in my 30 years of career, to tell you. It's not the money. You make one deal and that really keeps you going for the next 3 months, but it's the value to see a client turn around and say, wow, I did not see this perspective. You've just given me 4 to 5 years of business longevity, sustainability in a very volatile world. And I think that in terms of words, in terms of an emotional feeling of satisfaction is amazing. It really makes your life worth it, if I may say. So that's who I am. I look at marketing very differently. I flip it. I'm a British national of Indian origin. And a fun fact that your viewers might like, I have a mini UN in my family. So I have 2 of my elder kids who are Indian. I'm British. My wife and my 2 younger kids are Malaysian. So there you go. That's Joy.
That is quite the interesting mix there. Now, there's a couple of things that you mentioned in kind of your background that I wanted to ask kind of a follow-up question on. I mean, the first one was, being a self-taught in the digital marketing space. Like you said, I mean, you graduating from school, 30 plus years ago. So everything that's going on now, like, how did you find it, relearning the new approaches to marketing compared to what you had done for like 30 years?
Terrell, bear with me for a minute because I need to share a small backstory so you'll understand
Okay.
where I call it the love affair with marketing comes in. So when I was doing my D school, I was specializing in finance, and my career path, in many, many Asian Indian families, you have one of these things where your dad sort of decides your child's career path, so to speak. All right. So
Hmm.
that's a cultural impact. So I was specializing in finance. I was majoring in finance. I was going into M&A, mergers and acquisitions, and Forex. These are the two areas. I had a career that was going into banking after B school. And as I was doing my fourth semester, finishing off my 2 years of my MBA, for the first time, we had a global ad agency coming into the campus to do some campus recruitment. And I did my MBA from India. So it was a big hoo-ha back then, 33 years ago, where, 35 years ago, having a big ad agency coming in, everybody from the marketing discipline was vying to get onto that campus interview session. And my minor was marketing, and the head of the marketing faculty called me in and he said, Joy, I want you to attend this interview. Long story short, I had a lot of these things with him. That was the gentleman who actually set me on my career path, because I must say he's no longer there alive today, but he spotted something inside that I myself had no idea. And I went through a career of nearly 16, 17 years before I realized I actually bloody love what I do,
Oh, wow.
And, oh, sorry, bleep. I said the wrong
No,
word.
you're good.
So I got recruited, I got hired. And because I know at that point in time, I knew 4 languages across the subcontinent languages, and English being literally a mother tongue. The company placed me from London. They placed me back into Delhi. From Delhi, I went to Islamabad in Pakistan, managing various businesses. And as I joined that company, 2 years just went by even before I blinked. One fine day I blinked and I realized, hey, I'm 2 years into my career, and that's it. I took to marketing like duck takes to advertising, duck takes to water. I didn't know anything about advertising. I learned. So why I share this story is the curiosity of how things work and how people behave was something that made me take marketing as a minor in place of taking human resource or people management with finance. So normally the guys in my batch, my time, my era were, if you're doing my finance and going into a CFO with a double qualification as a CPA, you would bolster that with a little bit of human resource kind of qualification, so that you straddle the people management and the financials of a business. Okay. I was one of those mavericks who said, no, I think the world lies, with people, but you're approaching this long. It lies with the hopes and aspirations of an individual, which drives the connectivity with a brand and a product. And so I took marketing. And that's the backstory to what helps me to learn the curiosity. Okay. So I come from an era where when I started working, we would use electronic typewriters. Okay. Wow. And today, what all we use all over the place, right? In terms of communication, it's Telegram, it's Zoom on, laptop, on phone, whatever it is. So I taught myself with technology as technology started coming in. And then being in marketing, there are a lot of the technologies, I would say about 12 years is when marketing technology started going up, really coming into play. That's around the time when social media started getting traction as a marketing tool. And as social media started getting traction, there's new technologies came in. So, you had the old fashioned CRM systems, and you'd run it on an Excel backsheet and upload it to automate some stuff. And today, those are like archaic. They're like, not even generation 1. So it's that curiosity of how does this work? Why does this work? And what I do is I flip it. I look at technology and I say, how am I reacting to it? What's the benefit to it? And then I flip it over to how the customer is going to use it. Quick example. You and I both use Calendly, Now, we could both use a Google Calendar. But the thing is going to be, we're going to have to exchange 5 or 6 emails, spend 5 or 6 minutes writing those emails. Finally, we get down on date X, time Y. Then we got to look somewhere and check the time zone difference and everything, and then send out a calendar invite. Get what I mean? But when the technology has already come in, like a Calendly and similarly, when the technology is there where you put it out and you select a date, it auto swifts and tells you what is your comfortable time in your time zone. And you see, hey, there's a match with Terrell's time and my time. Yeah, it's your night yesterday and my morning today, but hey, we can talk. Boom, you select, you're done. What that does is it saves those 5 days and 5 minutes of time. When you save that 5 minutes of time, you're making somebody's life easier. And that's the perspective I come from. What in technology and what in the approach in the activity can make life better for the customer? Because everybody's rushed, everybody's hassled, everybody's got pains, everybody's got thing. Remember, I started off introducing myself saying, just call me Joy. The objective individually is, can I touch you and give you a bit of joy? And joy doesn't mean literally happiness and fulfillment. It just means, wow, he made my life easier. It's simple. Click on this. I've got my appointment. Boom, done, out.
Wow.
And that attitude has stayed with me. So I've never been a fan after I've done my, B school and everything. I've never been a fan. And I've worked in higher ed for 7 years. I've never really been a fan of a paper degree. I've always been a proponent of what we used to call in our era apprenticeship. You have a master and you have the learner. So the learner works with the master 24 hours of the day and learns the trade and then improves on it. So probably an Eastern philosophy, but it's like if you look at martial arts, because I take from lots of fields. So if you look at martial arts, the best martial artists of the world have spent their lifetime learning under a sensei, under a teacher. And then they've gone on to improve by putting in different forms and different elements of that art form and creating something new. And that's the best way to learn. So long story, long reply. I've learned on the job. I need to learn. I need to know how it adds benefit to my customer, to have that experience in order to use that effectively in marketing. And that's what I take to my clients.
Gotcha. And now speaking of your clients, so when someone's looking to do business with you, what are the types of services that they're coming to you for?
2 services primarily. One is purely business planning, which is where's my business? What's my business got to do? Do I need to pivot? Do I need to diversify? Do I need to disrupt? Okay, that's one area of line. The second area of line is to go into strategic marketing. So if you anybody can pop into my LinkedIn, and if you pop into my LinkedIn, you'll find what I do basically is summed up in this statement. I make brands have relationships which create an engaged community that earns revenues for you. So strategic marketing is not about a transaction. Yeah, you want a transaction. Hey, look, there's a million people out there who'll give you Facebook ads and pins and stuff like that, and you'll get a bunch of sale and you'll hit your weekly numbers. But I can guarantee you, after the 3rd week, you're not going to have the same customers, which means your business is continuously into customer acquisition mode, which means you're continuously on a survival mode. And when you're continuously on a survival mode, you will reach physically a point in time where your energy will go away. And I take this line out of your business or hobby episode of today. It becomes a hobby. It's not a business, because a business needs to be made sustainable. It needs to run on a process that helps it earn revenues without you working the business. You're supposed to be working on the business, not in the business. And I'm talking from a business owner perspective. So people come to me for those 2. And by and large, they're still, after 3 years, there's a lot of confusion. A lot of people approach me for, 70% of the leads that I generate are for digital advertising. Let me be very, very clear in my speak here. They approach it that I want some marketing help. But when you drill down to the second round of conversation, it's actually digital advertising / communication, right?
Okay.
What I do is I create a strategy that helps you and your team find the purpose the business exists for. And it's a little bit more than making the next $1.5 million. That's good. You can make that money at a certain time point. The question I ask is, what are you going to do after you've got your yacht and your Learjet and you've got your Beverly Hills bungalow? What are you going to do? What's going to drive you? Let's talk from there to do your business today. And that's purpose. So that's the
Gotcha.
strategic side. The 25% of people that comes in, I lose. If you make that 25 into 100, I say I lose. People walk away. 80 people walk away because they are not ready mentally in their attitude to take certain leaps that are required for that kind of transformation or that kind of
Gotcha.
change. The two guys I have, I love them because they stay with me, work with me for a year. 8 months is what I take to deliver performance. And I've got a 3-step process that I've walked them through. And I work what is called in digital parlance organic marketing. I don't do paid advertising for my clients. I use a client, I use their employees, and I build them up. So it's corporate business planning, it's strategic marketing. I work with 4 clients at any given point in time. And sorry, I'm pitching a sales plug over here. I have 2 vacancies going into the ending of this year. So any clients around Asia you'd like to pick it up, give me a call on LinkedIn.
Awesome, no problem. And where can they find you online and on social media?
Well, LinkedIn is the best. I'm literally a LinkedIn inhabitant, so everything via LinkedIn. Otherwise, just hit me up on Twitter, and you can go to 3minutemarketing.biz. These are the 3 points I'll give you, but primary, it's LinkedIn. Just DM me on LinkedIn. I'm a regular on LinkedIn, so you can get my content. It's easy to find me, or just Google my name. I'll come up on somewhere on the top, I think.
Okay, awesome. Now, before we wrap up, one final question I like to ask all the guests that come on is when you think about, your career path and you think about your business and the type of work you do now, what's 2 pieces of advice that you would share with business owners?
First, for corporate professionals out there who are running the rat race, if you're anywhere 15 years and above, start focusing your time and your energy on starting something that you're really passionate about. Get yourself a coach, get yourself a mentor, get yourself a group of people outside of your coworkers and your family members who are able to help you pinpoint what's really your thing. And it could be anything. You could be a car salesman who suddenly decides, hey, I need to go and make lasagna. You become a chef. It's as diverse as that. But if you're 15 years and above, please, please, please do this to find out what's your passion and start something online. Today, to do something online, it's very easy. That's my first tip. Why? It takes anywhere between 3 to 4 years to get that hobby, that side hustle, to a business standing. And when you're working, all that you have is your own intent and commitment that I'm going to do this hustle for 4 hours every evening, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., 5 days of the week. Trust me, if you want to build it up, that gives you a fantastic base to start off and become your own boss, to use a cliche, right?
Gotcha.
Second piece of advice, no matter how senior you are and whether you're CEO, chairman of the board, or whatever you are at the end of the day in a corporate, any business entity, you are a number. Remember that always. The only difference between being in jail and being in a company or doing somebody else's dream is this. In a jail, you have a physical limitation, there's a boundary, and you have a routine. In a corporate 9 to 5, you also have a routine, but you think you don't have that physical limitation. But rest assured, the stress, the culture, and everything gets to you. This is my learning after 3 decades in corporate. And not that I wouldn't be willing to go back into corporate, I would, but I'd be so damn choosy that it's going to be really hard to find the right role. So these are my 2 pieces of advice, that if you're going to become a business owner, get your mind to turn to being a business owner. A business owner is somebody who has to be absolutely self-independent and has to do everything, which means you need to know yourself very well. You need to be self-aware of your strengths and weaknesses, and you need to ensure you build up a financial base where some of the non-core services are outsourced. So for example, I've learned videography because I do my own videos and I couldn't afford to pay somebody to do my videos. Okay, great. But if I could, I would not have spent those hours doing my video editing. I would have actually outsourced to, India, Manila, or wherever, and just given the content and be done with it. So it helps build you focus on what's important, which is How do you do the prospecting? Where do you do the networking? How do you become an authority leader? These are what's important.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Joy, thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing your story, your feedback. We'll definitely include the link so people can find you on LinkedIn and they can follow the content that you create and to do business with you in the future.
Thank you so much, Terrell. It's been a pleasure. And as we are ending, please do share with me the clip, audio, video, whatever it is, and I'll be happy to give the podcast a shout out also. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.